Hello YouTube, it is Relicine with another battle report for BoLS Souls. This is the first game in a two-part series of battle reports that you're going to see with different squadron makeups, the first featuring a pair of X-Wings in the Millenium Falcon, the second featuring a trio of TIE Fighters with the Fire Spray 31, better known as Slave 1. Now we specifically chose these lists due to distribution problems that Fantasy Flight has been having, and we just kind of wanted to explore the viability of building squadrons based on what's currently available at your local game store, which is all but certainly the core set, Slave 1, and the Falcon. So one list will be based off of specifically what's available from these sources, while the other list will be unhindered by the limits of what you can currently find, with the stocking problems that seem to be dogging this otherwise really solid game. So let's take a quick overview of the lists that are being deployed. On the Imperial side, you see Dark Curse and Night Beast, two named TIE Fighter pilots with their own special abilities. Dark Curse is Pilot Skill 6, and his rules state that when defending, ships attacking you cannot spend focus tokens or reroll attack dice, making Dark Curse a very difficult to kill ship unless you can get up close and roll hot. Night Beast is Pilot Skill 5, and his rules state that after making a green maneuver, you may perform a free focus action, giving Night Beast a solid amount of flexibility. The rest of the Imperial build is a trio of Pilot Skill 3 Avenger Squadron TIE Interceptors with stealth devices, which will increase their agility value by 1 until they are hit by an attack, making the bulk of his list really hard to hit while also possessing a decidedly higher damage output potential with their 3 base attack dice over the normal TIE Fighters 2. On the Rebel side of the board, you'll see a pair of Pilot Skill 2 Rookie X-Wing pilots with Han Solo in the YT-1300 with the Millennium Falcon upgrade to gain the evade action, Luke Skywalker to allow the ship to gain a second attack if the first one misses that also changes the first eye symbol on that second attack to a hit result, and the Marksmanship upgrade, which is an action that converts the first eye result to a critical hit and the rest to normal hits. Normally, I would run a Gunner instead of Luke, but alas, the Gunner upgrade isn't in the Millennium Falcon box, so I'm making do with what I can put together based on earlier restrictions that I pointed out. Now that we're deployed, we're ready to move into the first turn of the game. Already I know that I've made a huge mistake by splitting up the Falcon and the X-Wings, and my movements for this turn are only going to make things worse. I was concerned with the idea of sending the Falcon in at his interceptors since their 3 attack dice will make a meal out of the Falcon's single defense die, so instead I placed the Falcon opposite his named TIE Fighters with the X-Wings defend for themselves against his interceptors. This is obviously a mistake and somewhat of a beginner move, but I thought it's a good way to illustrate how important placement and movement in this game are. The activation phase begins with the X-Wings moving first since they have the lowest pilot skill. They bank towards the center of the board at a long 3 and take the focus action. The Pilot Skill 3 Interceptors respond by moving as fast as possible toward my X-Wings, all taking the focus action as well. The named TIE Fighters take a hard right and the Falcon moves forward. This puts me in a really difficult position. All 3 Interceptors have range on my X-Wings and they get to shoot first. Since the Falcon doesn't have a target, and neither do the TIE Fighters, they don't get to shoot. So the Interceptors shoot first. They all focus fire on the X-Wing on the right, rolling fairly well, and they draw first blood. Now one could make the argument that this was simply due to hot dice rolls, but in my opinion it really came down to poor planning, movement, and deployment. If I had kept the Falcon with my X-Wings, I would have been able to mount a stronger response, but I didn't. Instead, his TIE Fighters stay away from the Falcon, and I'm left feeling pretty defeated already. So, moving into the next planning phase, responding to the situation is going to be difficult. I want to get Han into the game as soon as possible now, while also doing what I can to keep my X-Wing alive. My surviving X-Wing starts the turn by making a banking turn towards his interceptors while taking the focus action, hoping that his interceptors will overfly the X-Wing or end up in base contact and unable to attack it. This maneuver is mostly successful. His first interceptor turns too far to the left and won't be able to see the X-Wing. The second interceptor will move into base contact with the X-Wing and be denied an action and the ability to attack it. And the third will end up running into his middle interceptor, also being denied an action. But it will get to attack my X-Wing at range 1. Night Beast and Dark Curse go next, moving quickly forward to finish off my last X-Wing, but will be too far away to do so since they started the game so far to their left flank. Han tanks a banking maneuver to the left, taking the Marksmanship action and getting ready to shoot at the nearest TIE Fighter. So Han shoots and rolls well, getting 2 hits and a focus icon, which turns into a crit via Marksmanship. He rolls 4 dice at range 3 to dodge and succeeds in evading all 3 hits. This triggers Luke Skywalker's upgrade card, resulting in a new attack scoring 2 hits. One of them manages to slip through, doing a single point of damage. You'll notice in a few moments that there was actually an asteroid providing cover to his TIE fighter, and I have John roll a dodge die to see if it would have made a difference against that second attack, and he rolls evade, so we pull the damage card off and continue on. His interceptor with line of sight goes next and scores 1 hit against my X-Wing. I roll and manage to get a focus icon, but decide that I need to start doing damage instead of converting the focus to an evade, so I eat the damage and lose a shield point on that X-Wing. That X-Wing then goes next and rolls 2 hits and a focus icon, which is converted to a hit with the focus action that I took. 1 damage slips through, removing the ship's stealth device and moving us into the 3rd turn. So, moving into the next phase, my X-Wing will overfly his interceptors, but right into the jaws of his waiting named TIE fighters while the Falcon gives chase, and I desperately hope that Han can start earning his keep. So, my rookie pilot starts the turn by banking to the right. The X-Wing focuses to keep my options open as John's maneuvers are revealed. His 2 interceptors nearest the center will take K turns to turn around and receive a stress token. His rightmost interceptor will turn hard to the left. Night Beast and Dark Curse continue their straight move, successfully getting out of the X-Wing's firing arc. Han continues moving towards the center of the board and takes the marksmanship action. Han starts the attack phase by shooting at the interceptor that took damage and lost his stealth device, scoring 3 hits off the bat. With 4 agility dice and at range 3, he manages to dodge all 3 hits, triggering Luke's ability to take another attack. The second attack manages to get a hit and a crit, but again he manages to evade all damage. John's first interceptor shoots at Han and scores 2 hits that aren't dodged, taking out 2 shield points. The interceptor facing the X-Wing goes next and hits with all 3 attacks that are not dodged again, finishing it off and leaving me with just the Falcon against his whole squad, so things are looking pretty grim at this point. So at this point, it's really a matter of not hitting asteroids and hoping that the dice are going to be on my side. With my X-Wings both destroyed, John's Pilot Skill 3 interceptors now move first. As John moves his first interceptor, the template intersects an asteroid. I roll an attack die to see if it takes damage, and a hit is rolled. Suddenly my sullen mood is raised a little, and I think, hey, maybe I can make something happen here. His next interceptor makes a sharp turn to the right, losing its stress token and taking the focus action. His final interceptor makes a hard white turn, so he keeps his stress token and doesn't get to take an action. His named TIE fighters turn to the left, taking focus action, and the Falcon moves forward using marksmanship. Han starts the attack phase by firing at the undamaged interceptor to his 10 o'clock. In retrospect, it may have been a better idea to shoot at the damaged interceptor behind the asteroid closer to my side of the table, since it had already lost its stealth device, but hindsight is 20/20 and I'm still a pretty green player at this point. Han scores a crit, counting as 2 damage according to the critical effect card. Now if that crit had gone into the damaged ship, it would have been destroyed and I'd have 1 less threat to worry about. Night Beast and Dark Curse go next, doing 2 damage between them, and taking off a little bit more of the Falcon shields, which are finally finished off by his interceptors. The first interceptor makes a K turn to move in behind the Falcon, taking a stress token. John's leftmost interceptor will move in towards the Falcon and focus, and his third will collide with the second and be denied an action. Night Beast will move forward into the Falcon's path while Dark Curse turns in towards the center of the board, both taking focus actions. Han moves last, skirting his blocking maneuver by turning hard to the left and taking the marksmanship action again. So Han shoots at the interceptor to his immediate left that took damage from an asteroid that still maintains its stealth device since the damage wasn't actually from an attack. I roll really well, getting 3 hits and a crit. However, only the crit gets through, but it causes 2 damage again, and finally I've actually managed to remove a ship from the board. Dark Curse is faced away from the Falcon and doesn't get to attack, so Night Beast goes next, scoring 2 hits, and I dodge 1. His interceptor at range 3 rolls hot and hits with all 3 attacks, and I don't dodge any of them. Finally, his interceptor that's facing to the camera's left has no target and doesn't get to attack, so we move on to the next round. So now John is down 1 interceptor and I have damage on his 2 remaining, but the shields are also down on the Falcon, so I'm a little nervous with the Falcon's low agility stat that he's going to be able to survive for very long. The interceptor nearest my side of the board turns toward the Falcon and takes a focus action. His other interceptor follows up behind and runs into the back of his squadron mate, losing his stress action from the green maneuver that he took, but not getting an action because he ran into another model. Night Beast moves straight forward and takes a focus, and dark curse will turn to the right towards the center of the board. The ability for TIE fighters to make those hard ones is a real nice ability and shouldn't be underestimated. The Falcon moves left, taking a shallow one to the left, and uses marksmanship yet again. Han starts the shooting phase and fires at range 1 to the ship at his 8 o'clock. 2 shots get through and another interceptor goes down. Dark Curse responds, firing at range 2 at the Falcon, and a crit sneaks through, denying my ability to use actions in the Falcon's action bar, which isn't a horrible loss since it uses marksmanship pretty much every round anyway. Night Beast and the Interceptor fire next, reducing the Falcon to 1 hull point and making this game all but over. On the last turn, I'll put a crit in a Night Beast, but his 3 ships will manage to get that last damage through into the Falcon and end the game. Overall, I actually really like the list that I ran. My biggest mistake obviously was deploying the way that I did. Had I been able to bring the Falcon to bear against his interceptors on turn 1, it would have put me in a much higher advantage since his named TIE fighters were off on the other side of the board and far from the action. While I absolutely gave this list an awful showing, I think it's a great place to start the game since the Falcon has that 360-degree firing arc that makes using it more forgivable than fighters with their simple 90-degree arcs. It's also a list that is highly likely to be available at your local game store, since most game stores carry core sets and the large ships at this point. So if you're looking to get into the game, but you're concerned about availability of ships and availability of product, know that there is an option out there that is viable and is actually really fun to play. So I hope that you found this battle report enjoyable. Please remember to like this video and leave a comment if you did, and subscribe to our feed for future battle reports on X-Wing as well as 40K, War Machine, and other offerings. This has been Relacine, and I am out!